All right, so at this time we have solved systems of equations using three methods: graphing, substitution, and elimination. And so this assignment is on solving systems with any method that you want, but hopefully picking the method that fits best with the problem that you're given. So we have several examples to go through. Let's start with number one. So try this on your own first, and there'll be questions that I will ask you along the way. Tickets to a school play are $5 for adults and $2 for students. If there are 350 tickets sold and $1,150 was collected, then how many adults and how many students went to the play? So the first thing we want to do is write our equations. And in order to write our equations, we're going to have to define our variables. And so I'm going to let the adult tickets be X and the student tickets be Y. And if I do this, then I'm going to write an equation first for the fact that there were 350 tickets sold. Those tickets included adult tickets and student tickets, which means it's just going to be X plus Y equals a total of 350 tickets, because there were two different types of tickets sold, just X and Y. Now, it also says that there were $1,150 brought in. For each adult ticket, $5 was brought in. So it's $5 for each adult ticket that was brought in. Plus, for each student ticket that was sold, $2 was brought in. So that's 2Y. And that equals a total value that was brought in of 1,150. So this is our system that we want to solve. And you could solve that either with substitution or elimination. If I use substitution, I'd want to get the X and the Y by themselves. I'm going to use elimination here, and I think what I'm going to do is eliminate the Y's, because I have a positive 2Y here. If I multiply this top equation here by -2, then I'll have a -2Y, and my Y's will be eliminated. So if I multiply everything by -2, I'll have -2X. This Y will become -2Y, and 350 times -2 is -700. And so now I'm going to add these two equations together, and my Y's are going to be eliminated. 5X and a -2X is 3X. The Y's are eliminated. 1,150 minus 700 is 450. So then I can figure out what X is by dividing everything by 3. And if I divide everything by 3, X is 150. That means that there were 150 adult tickets sold. But I also want to find out how many students went to the play. So how many student tickets went to the play, and that's what Y is. So to figure out what Y is, I'm going to use this top equation here. I know that X is 150, so we have 150 plus Y equals 350. And if I subtract 150 from both sides, I will get that Y is 200. So that means there were 150 adult tickets sold to the play, and there were 200 student tickets sold to go to the play. Let's move on. Here's another situation. Richie has $200 saved up, but spends $5 a week, while poor Johnny only has $32 saved up and saves $3 per week. So he's increasing his amount of money. And how many weeks will they have the same amount of money, and how much money will they both have at that time? So again, we're going to write equations to start this out. The first equation is for Richie. Richie right now has $200 saved up. That's what he has at the beginning, but he spends $5 per week. That's like the slope. So we can write an equation in slope-intercept form that looks like this. Richie's money is going to be -5x because he's losing $5 per week, plus he started with $200 in his account. Now that's the equation for Richie. Johnny's a different situation. He started with only $32 in his account, but he's saving $3 per week. So the amount of money that Johnny has, that's why, is going to equal 3x, and it's a positive 3x because he's gaining $3 per week, and he started with $32. So here is our system. And so now we want to solve this system either using substitution or elimination. Elimination, if I used that method, I would have to get the x and the y on the same side of the equation, make sure they're lined up. And so I don't know if I'm going to use elimination here. Instead, I'm going to use substitution. And here it says that y is negative 5x plus 200. So I'm going to rewrite this equation here, but instead of putting y, I'm going to put what y is equal to, which is negative 5x plus 200. That's y, and it equals 3x plus 32. And so I'm going to go ahead and add 5x to both sides to get my x's together. And so I will then have 200 equals 8x plus 32. If I subtract, I want to get this x by itself, then I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. So on the right hand side I'll just have 8x because my 32 will be gone. And on the left hand side, 200 minus 32 is 168. Then I'm going to get x by itself by dividing by 8. So my 8's will cancel, and x equals 168 divided by 8, which is 21. So the x value, that's the number of weeks that go by. This tells me that in 21 weeks, they're going to have the same amount of money. And how much money is that? Well, if I plug 21 in for both of these equations, I should get the same answer back out. So let's start with the top equation. Negative 5 times 21, I believe, is negative, that would be negative 105. And negative 105 plus 200 is $95. So I believe that y is 95. Let's use the other equation and see if we get the same answer. If I take 3 times 21, well, that is 63. And if I take 63 plus 32, that is also 95. So in 21 weeks, they're both going to have $95. So you want to go back to the questions and make sure you answered the questions that they're asking. Let's move on and let's take a look at these two examples. We have two examples here that we can solve using any method. And you can pick any method that you want, but I think for number 3, because I have y equals, for number 3 I'm going to use substitution. And then when I go to number 4, I'm probably going to use elimination because they're both in standard form and I don't have an x equals something. So try solving 3 and 4, and then we will continue with this video. So to solve number 3, I'm going to start by taking this 3x minus 2, which is what y equals, and plugging it in here for this y. So it's going to look like this. 2x plus 3 times y, but y is 3x minus 2. That equals 27. So we have 2x plus, if I distribute 9x minus 6 equals 27. Well, 2x plus 9x is 11x, minus 6 equals 27. If I add 6 to both sides, 11x is going to equal 33. If I divide by 11, x is 3. So that's what x is, and then I can go back and use this equation to figure out what y is. So if x is 3, I'm going to have 3 times 3, which is 9, and 9 minus 2 is 7. So I believe y is 7. And I could plug it into the other equation to make sure that I'm right. 2 times 3, that's 6. 3 times y, that's 21. And 6 plus 21 does give me 7. So my solution is 3 and 7. And I solved that system using substitution. Let's move on and take a look at number 4. And once you try to solve that on your own, we will work through it together. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this bottom equation and I'm going to try to eliminate the x's. So I have a 3x here, and so what I'm going to do here is make this a negative 3x by multiplying this whole thing by negative 3. And if I do that, I will have a negative 3x. 6y times negative 3 is negative 18y. And negative 8 times negative 3 is positive 24. So now when I add these together, I have 3x and a negative 3x. This is positive, that's just an arrow. 3x and a negative 3x, my x's are eliminated. 2y and a negative 18y is negative 16y. And an 8 plus a 24 is 32. So now I can figure out what y is by dividing both sides by negative 16. And y is 32 divided by negative 16 is negative 2. But then I want to figure out what x is. So I'm going to use this top equation here. It's 3 times x, so 3 times x plus 2 times y. Well, if y is negative 2, 2 times y is negative 4, and that equals 8. So I'm going to start to figure out what x is by adding 4 to both sides. So I'll have 3x is equal to 8 plus 4 is 12. And if I divide both sides by 3, I will end up with x being equal to 4. So let's move on. Take a look at this last one. If you were to solve this equation, what method would you use and how would you solve it? Let's go ahead and try it on your own first, and then we'll work on it together. So hopefully you've done that. I would definitely use substitution here because I have y equals 2x minus 7, and I could substitute that in for this y here. And I would end up with 2x minus 7, that's what y is, equals negative x plus 8. Then I can get my x's together. If I add an x to both sides, I will have 3x minus 7 equals 8. If I add 7 to both sides, 3x is equal to 15. And if I divide by 3, x is 5. Then I could plug 5 in for x up here. 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 minus 3 is, or 10 minus 7 is 3. So that means y is 3. And that is the solution to my system. This is what we're working on today for homework, and we will work on it more in class.